Hey, continuing on with the reading of Alice Bailey's book, Esoteric Psychology. We're on chapter 2, section Certain Questions and Their Answers. And I'm going to share the chart that we've been looking at to work through the other sections. And then I'll share the publisher's version of the text just like last time. And what I'm going to do this time a little bit, since we're on ray 6. Ray 6 is the ray that is passing out of incarnation or evolution right now, is what we are learning as we look through the study of each of these rays. The thing that's repeated is that the 6th ray is passing out, and that time of the 7th ray and the other activities are going to be rising up in the new Aquarian age. So we need to kind of learn about this so we can understand what we're moving away from, but understanding that this is what we're kind of allowing to pass on because it's been ingrained. So what I'd like to do is just read through this section in full and then see if I can add some comments based on a full read, because as I've studied it and I went through the first sections, as you'll remember if you've seen the other videos, the sections of how Alice Bailey breaks it down is through the old teachings. So it's said in this sort of old ancient verbiage as it was written on the scrolls of what this ray means, and then it goes through the different names that it's been called commonly, and through syncretism the Theosophists study different teachings and different texts, and they gather that information and accumulate it. So through gathering of that information, they've discovered all the different ways that this each ray is referred to. So we'll give a list of different names, and then we study those names to gain understanding about what the energy and the essential essence of that ray type is, so that we can embody that or learn about it and see if we are that. And then lastly, it gives the story of 6 aphorisms. So the 6 other brothers and how they would describe the ray through these aphorisms or stories of basically animating the ray and giving it these certain qualities and referring to it by those. So I think again, that's where I'm going to try to run it. But when I read those, sorry, the first time I wasn't really getting any messages, so I want to kind of learn this one together, work through it together, read it at the same time, and then see if something comes while I read it. But I did want to get this video out too and get to the next one, the 7th ray, and then get deeper into this book, because this whole section has been really an intense, heavy study about each one individualized. And I think it'll be that, continue to be that throughout, but more to come on that. So I'm going to share the screen with the 7 rays chart. Get that up. See if I can make it bigger. Cool. All right, so again, like this is the chart. It's listed in the description where this is coming from. It goes over the different rays and gives some different associations, the chakras, the physical location in the body, or the different syncretisms across the different spiritual religions and ideologies like chakras, etc. And then the description and the master. This is the part I really like to focus on, is the negative qualities and the qualities to develop for each ray type. The first 3 rays, oh my God, I'm just gonna like slide myself over here for a second so you can see this. The first 3 rays are the rays of aspect. So these are the primary rays that imbue their energy into, or which we all are made up of, the 7 rays. I should say that. There are 3 core primary rays that create that trinity, that idea that the triangle, the prism that reflects the light of all the rest, is the same idea that the rays of attribute are the ones that follow that. And so we have a sprinkling of these first 3 as our dominant. One of these first 3 is our dominant ray type, and then we might be accentuated by having home on one of the other rays of attribute. But as you break these down, these are what color and shape every human being that we come into contact with, and understanding these ray types will also give us a higher sense of awareness as we interact with people in our daily life, and then also, of course, in that ever important journey of understanding knowledge of self. So here again, we're on the 6th ray. This is the ray of devotion and idealism. Represents the splenic center, water. Interesting. So that's emotion, the energy field. And over here it says it's corresponding to our desire body. the description here. The sixth ray is the impetus, the driving impetus to produce form. It is devotion to life, divinity, and visioning of the plan. It's an inclusive idealism, an aspiration, the creative imagination, loving kindness, loyalty, reverence to high ideals, and the revealer of the divine. And in that sense, the master would make sense to be Jesus, these demonstrators of the ideal of the sixth ray type. The negative qualities, what we also want to learn is if this is our high concentration of our ray type, then we need to understand that the negative qualities we can demonstrate in this is a sense of irrationality, selfishness, avarice, jealousy, zealotry, glamours, sycophancy, desire mind, fanaticism, prejudice, cupidity, sectarianism, anger, superstition, impetuosity, and wrong devotion. And again, this takes a real close study when he talks about this being the primary representation, the negative qualities of the sixth ray of why it's passing through. And this is, again, the ray of devotion. So you would think about the religious zealots in this category. We're talking about zealotry. That's a negative quality of this. But the beautiful things that we are supposed to take from religion and to take from the understanding of how that is a higher consciousness exercise if we demonstrate the highest ideals of the Master, Jesus, the Messiah, of any of the other representations across all the religions. Again, syncretism finds value in each of them. And the qualities of any of the masters of any of the religions. If you're looking for one of the Abrahamic religions, you're looking at the values and principles of Abraham. What are the good teachings, or what are the things that we are following? The Buddha, what is it that we are embodying of them? It is these qualities we want to develop. It is self-sacrifice, emotional, and that's within reason, right? If you're looking at objectivism, like Ayn Rand and all those teachings, self-sacrifice, but not selfless devotion to something without logic. And that's, I think, part of what's going on when we fall into this category too, is when we don't hold our sacrifices to a healthy standard. What are we sacrificing for? Not someone that would continue to keep us, martyred on the cross, but for a cause that is worthy. When people respond by elevating in consciousness and showing Christ's love and kindness and all of these things, and they demonstrate these ideals, when the disciple embodies that and shows you that they're taking heed to the teachings, then we will continue to sacrifice selfishness to live a life that is meaningful for that purpose of creating a better world for us all to live in. I will make that self-sacrifice to not do the easy things, right? The cheat codes in life, because I want to serve this higher ideal. I'm devoted to that ideal, but not blindly. Emotional control is where you have that fine line. So the emotional control to say, like, when I see that a religion is telling me to harm others based on whatever judgments we have, prejudices, or that life no longer has value, I have emotional control. I'm not going to get swept away in that, because I have developed the higher consciousness traits of the sixth ray expression: selflessness, tolerance. You can tolerate the differences of others. You can tolerate and you can see the beauty in others. Equanimity in that way. Truth, loving kindness, and serenity. I am at peace. I'm at peace with your decisions for your worship and your devotion, as long as it doesn't infringe on or inflict in or, curse me and my fate based on your different understanding or whatever it may be. It's a reverence, it's a respect, it's a higher expression of devotion and idealism. It's not a fanaticism, just like when people will worship celebrities or whatever, and they would like harm someone just because they said something wrong outside of the beehive, and someone says something bad about Beyonce, and then we like go against her because we're fanatics. Like, it's not that serious, is the idea. Have emotional control and selflessness. Sure, you can understand what makes you idolize this person or idealize this person, but don't put yourself as less than or others as less than you because of that connection that you have. Because what you're really connecting to is the highest qualities and the reflections of divinity in a thing. Even if the person isn't acting divine, what we idealize is the idea that they have this larger than life, this power to them, this this magnificence, this magic, and that's what we're drawn to. And so we fanaticize that. But this turns the lens back inside of ourselves so that we can radiate the same thing and not just idolize or get into harmful behavior like these. All right, so I'm going to move this to pause sharing and share this screen instead. See if that works. All right, now we can continue reading. So this is again the publisher's website. You can find the Alice Bailey books, and we're on question 2. What are the origin, goal, purpose, and plan of the soul? Corresponding to page 79. Hope that you're doing well or endeavoring to become so every day. Okay, so here we are. Okay. Continue on. The sixth purpose of deity. Ray 6, devotion or idealism. This ray, which is just going out of manifestation, is of vital interest to us, for it has set its mark upon our Western civilization in a more definite way than any of the others. It is for us the most familiar and the best known of the rays. The mantra which defines its purpose is unlike the others and might be expressed somewhat as follows. Now we get the first section from the ancient teachings. The crusade is on. The warriors march upon their way. They crush and kill all that impedes their way, and aught that rises on their onward path is trampled underfoot. March towards the light. The work goes forward. The workers veil their eyes from pity as from fear. The work is all that counts. The form must disappear so that the loving spirit may enter into rest. Naught must arrest the progress of the workers with the plan. They enter upon the work assigned with pan and song. Pan and song, and with song. The cross is reared on high, the form is laid thereon, and on that cross must render up its life. Each builds a cross, which forms the cross, they mount upon the cross. Through war, through work, through pain and toil, the purpose is achieved. Thus saith the symbol. And that's like super intense, right? That whole thing where I was like, what? This is all war and all this stuff, which is interesting because this is about, this is the religious ray, which is interesting that it depicts it this way because this talks about the negative qualities of why it needs to pass out is when that devotion becomes, and Bailey talks about it earlier, the Tibetan talks about it earlier in this book through Alice Bailey when she channels that the sixth ray, the reason why it's passing away is because it can be akin to the idea of a pet, an animal in its relation to its master, where it's just this blind obedience where that owner can just do no wrong and it just does whatever it needs to do because this owner like basically feeds it or gives it shelter, gives it some sustenance, some good comes from this, so that they just throw out, all reason and all other analysis of unemotional devotion towards this thing, this ideal. And it actually brings it a step further when you are more than just a pet worshiping a master. You are a self-aware human being with consciousness and the ability to check your premises, to see what your actions are doing and how you're fitting into the bigger picture of the world. Are we evolving? Are people experiencing more love, more kindness, more freedom and abundance? Or are we like separating each other and warring out and becoming like this, like it's a crusade, like my thoughts and my beliefs are more important than your beliefs, or I'm more important than you as a person, and all these wars and these battles that come out because we are just veiled, our eyes are veiled from pity, as from fear. It takes bravery to represent an ideal in a sea of people that want to be void of any kind of belief and faith, because it's not cool to like believe in something better, right? It's not cool to have optimism for the future. It's not cool anymore, right? To be hopeful and filled with childlike joy and wonder and love. It's not cool right now, right? But it is cool because that energy is powerful and that energy is manifesting the future. And so when you're brave and you step into that instead of what's popular, which is to have our eyes veiled from so many things in terms of consciousness and just being good human beings to each other, this energy of devoting to people can devote to the ideal of toxicity and of negativity and stuff like that. That's what crushes and kills and impedes our way forward. And anything that would have rose on that path was trampled under the foot of these ideals that don't check their premises and move towards a pet master idol worship scenario into a very empowered and awakened and aware, conscious interaction with the things that we idealize. Moving on, I think the last part where it says through war, through work, through pain and toil, the purpose is achieved. But it had to be that way at one point. They had to move from a place where there was no religious organization, no structure, nothing. People didn't have anything, any goals to strive for. They didn't have any understanding of the divine within them, because we were like, this is an evolution of consciousness, right? So you go back to the beginning of time, we're just like, why are we here? What do we do? How do we survive? And there was different goals at that time, right? Different points in evolution. We were trying to learn how to advance in certain ways that are different than how we are now. Right now, what's needed is us to have a reorientation with our devotion and our idealism so that we can get to the next place in our evolution, which is the evolution of consciousness we learned through here. And it's not about pain and toil and crushing our enemies and all that stuff. Like, we've been doing that dance. So now the age of Aquarius is different, but this ray type is a symbol. And this is, the old teachings are saying that this symbol is one that has an endless crusade that it will fight to prove its devotion to an ideal. And that's a powerful energy. It's a divine energy, which is why it's one of the rays, because it's an expression of a divine trait, the ability to push through and show that you are committed to something through and through, that with no matter what, you will not like falter from the path. You're understanding that I'm going to lay myself upon this cross because I have to do this. It is something that I must do in order to demonstrate that I am devoted to this God, my everlasting God, and I have this, I will lay myself bare upon this cross and the criticism of everybody just to say that this is who I am, this is what I believe in. And that is so strong an example that it has touched the lives and hearts of so many people, that they're still living by this thing like word is bond, this is the Bible, It's powerful, but in back of that is a divine trait, and that's what we are studying through these ray types. It's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with it until we start to cause harm and not be conscious when we see that it does harm. So this is why it's passing away, and we'll see what's coming in its place. We still have the other three rays. So, we still have the second ray, which is about love and wisdom. So it's not like we are going to lose that love that Jesus, embodied or represents. This is like just dumping out the bad stuff, not the good stuff. And then continuing on. But so this ray is a symbol of that. Okay. It will be noted how this purpose, when applied by man to himself, works his release. When applied by man to man, it has produced the corrupt and awful story of man's cruelty to man. Again, not having any remorse, having our pity of what our harm we're causing others, being veiled from that is not helpful. So it's led to men being cruel to one another. In the above mantram, I said I was going to read this through and not comment, right? Let's just try and do that. In the above mantram, you will find the clue to the sixth ray purpose as it appears in the human kingdom, and a close, expansive study, note that paradoxical phrase, of the underlying ideas will reveal a little of the larger purpose. Notice above again. In the above mantram, you will find the clue to the sixth ray purpose as it appears in the human kingdom, and a close, expansive study, note the paradoxical phrase, of the underlying ideas. You'll find a clue of the underlying ideas, and why is this sentence? You're seeing it on the screen. What's going on here? Where am I? Let me try and read it from here. Oh, in the above mantra, you will find the clue to the sixth ray purpose as it appears in the human kingdom. Cool. And a close, expansive study of the underlying ideas will reveal a little of the larger purpose. What the heck? Does that know what this says? I'm like having a fight with myself right now in my brain. Yes, I hope that was clear that last time. Continuing on. The soul is and should be pitiless to its form and its problem. The soul can, however, comprehend the need for pain and difficulty in the world, for he can extend a knowledge of his own technique with himself to the technique of God with his world, but he does nothing knowingly that could possibly increase the world's pain or sorrow. So this is powerful. It's understanding that the soul allows for pain for its understanding and its ability to represent the techniques of the divine, but it does not knowingly cause or add to pain and sorrow in the world. That's not a divine quality. So that's why this zealotry of that, needs to pass away, because it's not just expressing divinity, it's moving into causing harm. Some of the names for this beneficent yet somewhat violently energized Lord of Array are as follows: the negator of desire, the one who sees the right, the visioner of reality, the divine robber, the devotee of life, the hater of forms, the warrior on the march, the sword bearer of the logos, the upholder of the truth, the crucifier and the crucified, the breaker of stones, the imperishable flaming one, the one whom naught can turn, the implacable ruler, the general on the path, on the perfect way, the general on the perfect way, the one who leads the 12. Okay. Those are some powerful names, so we just study those separately. Curiously enough, this sixth ray Lord has always been a loved enigma to his six brethren. This comes out in the questions which they addressed to him on one occasion when they met under the eye of the Lord to interchange their plans for united, divine, harmonious action. They asked these questions in a spirit of heavenly joy and love, but with the intent to throw some light upon the somewhat obscure quality of their loved brother. 1. Why is desire red? Why red as blood? Tell us, O Son of God, why thy way is red with blood. The quality is the power to kill out desire. And again, these are kind of like pretty far out descriptions of this ray type, so I'm just going to move through them before analyzing them, because they're very esoterically dark and made for like analysis, much like how Bible verses can get. And it just is, it's off-putting to the immediate consciousness, because it's just like, this is very bleak, and what do I do with this? So when I have that, I just kind of move through it to a place where I can come back to understanding. I'm not going to pretend to understand why this is written this way, like I've decoded this. I will sit with this and I'll try to kind of analyze it further if the rest of the passage doesn't give clarity to me. Sometimes, usually also, I'll study these qualities separately, because this is what it's saying, even though the aphorism is like a kind of poetic story back to that, spoken from one of the other rays back to that ray. It's also telling it what it views this ray type, one of the six of the seven brothers, is saying, you have the power to kill out desire. So, and then this is saying, why is desire red? And then it talks about blood. So why red as blood? Tell us, O Son of God, why thy way is red with blood. So if I did it that way and worked backwards, I would be like, why? So when someone sees red, it's like anger or it's passion or it's blood, right? So this is talking about the crusade. Like, why is your desire? Why is that desire to express your love or your devotion? Why is it red with blood? Tell us. But this ray has the power to kill out desire. So that's interesting to me because right now it's sounding like this is a ray that demonstrates desire, but it also has the power to kill it out. Interesting. I have to sit with it. Second, why do you turn your back upon the sphere of earth? Is it too small, too poor? Why kick it as a ball upon a playing field? Quality, spurning that which is not desired. So now we get a piece more. So if we're thinking about it in terms of a divine energy, the divine created the earth, and yet it turns its back upon it. It turns its back upon it. We hear that in religious groups where they talk about like, oh, why has God forsaken me? Like, why are you letting all of this, madness happen on this plane? Have you turned your back on us? Are we too small or was it too poor? Why kick it round and just let it just spin out of control? Saying that this is a quality. And again, up here it says that this ray type is one of the violent, what did it say? Somewhat violently energized in word. So it's kind of like ray one, where it's a tough one, it has some tough traits. The second one it's saying is you can spurn that which is not desired. So even though you created this world and it's got so much on it and it still has promise and stuff, you can turn your back on it because you've killed out your desire to make it work. So is that what's going on here? Is this a divine trait to let something go? If we go back to the table, it does talk about having emotional control. So maybe even though we still desire something really bad, we can still control our emotions and just let it play out. Is that a loving trait? Is that a divine trait to just let it go out? We don't have that desire. Can we spurn that which we don't desire? Just let it suffer? Is that a powerful trait? Is it a divine quality? It's saying that's. And the brothers are saying, is it because they were too small or too poor? Why are you doing this? The brothers also have a questioning of this ray type energy, but it nonetheless is a ray. So we have to study it and understand it as we continue on with a third. Hopefully we get more clarity because it kind of is building a story here, right? Why set the cross from earth to heaven? But earth can be a heaven. Why mount the cross and die? Quality, self-immolation. Why set the cross from heaven, from earth to heaven? Why did you set a cross? Where did I put on? Oh, I can do this thing in here. Immolation. Immolate is to kill or offer as a sacrifice, especially by burning. Wow, does that seem like radical to you? Is that what it means? I have no idea. I thought that to immolate something was to, or is that to emulate? When you try to be like something. Emulate. That would be pretty crazy. Emulate is to match or surpass a person or achievement, typically by imitation. How interesting. So it's very similar to this word, but it is not. Immolation, which is to kill or offer as a sacrifice. So to do that for yourself, to self-sacrifice, the quality of self-sacrificing. So you set the cross from heaven, from earth to heaven. Even though earth can be a heaven, why mount the cross and die? Why just let it go? This can be a heaven. Something is here. Earth has still hope yet, but I have the quality of being able to let something go, to sacrifice something, even though there's a chance that it could be saved, I have to make the decision to let it go, to let it learn its lessons on its own. I created it, but I created it with consciousness that can be as powerful and emulate my power, my divinity. If it doesn't demonstrate that back to me, will I just let it go? Can I turn my back on it? Is that my right? Is that a divine power to let a thing go through its growth and learn its lessons? Interesting. Continuing on, why battle thus with all that is around? Seek you not peace? Why stand between the forces of the night and day? Why thus unmoved and calm, untired and unafraid? Quality, endurance, and fearlessness. So the 6-ray type is a powerful divine being that can kill out its desire to live a disciplined life, like the life of the master reflector of this ray type shows as Jesus the Messiah. You have the divine people who are incarnate into life that represent this ray type have the ability to reflect the divine and their ability to kill out desire in their life. You might see this as a person that's even like a Buddhist that commit, or a monk that commits to living a life from abstaining from all of these things. You have the power to kill out desire. That's a reflection of the divine. You have the quality of spurning that which is not desired. You're not going to engage in that. You will turn your back on it completely. You will represent your divinity by making a firm choice that something that is not reflecting divinity back to you, you can turn your back on it. Wow, that's powerful. So that's what the divine is doing with the world. If the world doesn't reflect its intention, the divine can turn its back on the world. Not to say that there's not simultaneous many worlds happening, many things going on. And if you believe in the soul's journey, the soul's incarnations, which Buddhism talks about reincarnations in different lifetimes, the soul is collecting experiences. And as it passes on from this life and it goes into another life in another world, it collects its learning, its wisdom, and its teachings from the life before it. So in that world, the divine still favors you, and we're living them all simultaneously, so that even though it's a powerful feeling from our perspective and our consciousness, when the divine turns its back on you, or when a divine being, like bring it down to as above, so below, when a person who is expressing divinity turns their back on you, it can feel very powerfully hurtful. But is it done from a place of trying to harm you? In this place, if it's from a divine place of wanting a reflection of divinity in its space for it to turn towards it, then it's not done. I'm sorry to scroll up like that, but it's not done from a place of trying to cause harm, because it says that he does nothing knowingly that could possibly increase the world's pain or sorrow. The divine being doesn't turn their back in order to create pain or sorrow. It does it because it has to focus on building more divine things and focus on elevating what is divine. This is what I'm getting from this. Even though it's a self-sacrifice, even though it can cause pain to the self, the divine, to turn away. I'm sure it doesn't want the earth to be kicked around like a ball on a playing field and to be left. I think it wanted it to work out. I think it wanted heaven on earth, but that's our job, to rise in consciousness and create a better place. That's our work. And if we don't do that, we can't expect magic and miracles, because this is a life of cause and effect. We witness the laws, and that's our job, is to learn the laws and to obey them. I think if we're talking about how to survive, survival of the fittest, you have to survive by the laws of the realm in which we live. This is a realm where we see cause and effect. So, continuing on. So why are we battling? Do we not seek peace? Of course we do. I seek peace, but it is not, but I'm not avoidant of it. So this goes back to that idea of the crusader and the blood and all this. I'm willing to go the distance. I can endure. I'm fearless. I can go head on into this. I can see you. I can see the world spiral as much as it needs to. I can go the distance. Are you guys going to let yourselves go? That's your choice. But I'm not going to turn around and save you. This sounds like a lot of that Saturn energy, that daddy energy, like, I love you, but I'm not going to do it for you. Or that tough love that you would say to an addict, like someone who's enabling themselves, I love you, but I'm not going to enable you. Like, you got to figure this out. And I have the power to kill out my desire to save you. I have the ability to spurn your behaviors, though I still love you. I'm not going to encourage what you're doing on earth. Earth can be a heaven, but if it's not, I'll sacrifice my attachment to the earth. I'm not going to cave and falter on these beliefs. The divine expression of this is to endure and be fearless and to trust that there's a higher calling, there's a higher order, there's a divine flow of this, and the outcome will be helpful by my expressing these divine qualities. I'm just working through each of these to try and gain understanding. Moving forward, and why thus unmoved and calm, untired and unafraid? And the traits to develop, back in that table, it did say that we have to develop the traits of being calm, emotionally balanced. That's not being swept up in a fervor, not having fear, faith over fear. I used to have a shirt that said that. I think I still do. 5, see you not God in all, the life in all, and love in all? Why separate yourself and leave behind the loved and the well-known? The quality is the power to detach oneself. Because I'm a divine being, because I'm the divine, I do see myself, God, in you. I do see life in you. I do see love in you because I produced you with love and with me, and the power to be, to resolve all the problems that you have. I put that all there. So yes, I see it. But why do I separate myself and leave behind the loved and the well-known? Because I have that power. This ray type has the power to detach oneself. It is unwavering in a devotion in the idealism. If something is ideal and you are an idealist, you don't separate from it. It's not like, oh no, okay, you can't figure it out. You can't figure out how to stop destroying yourselves, Earth. Okay, I'll come in and I'll save you guys. No, it's going to be detached. Like, okay, you want to keep doing that, keep playing. I think that's what God said. God said, keep playing. Y'all keep playing. I'm not going to save you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry. This is probably really offensive. Please forgive me. I'm just trying to learn here. That's what I'm hearing from this. That's what I'm feeling seriously from reading this. And it's funny that this is coming to me this way, because before, when I read this, I was just like, what is it saying? Last one. Can you arrest the waters of the 6th great sphere? Can you stem the flood? Okay, this is super biblical. It's talking about like when God is finally, like Noah's Ark and the flood, and just when it finally just got to be too much, cause the floods, wash it away. I will create, I will build again. Can you stem the flood? Can you recover both the raven and the dove? Can you, the fish, swim free? Jesus is also symbolized as a fish, so this is the Pisces energy. This is all that symbolism here, which is also like the Vesica Pisces, sacred symbology, the divine feminine. Can we stem the flood? Can we recover? The raven and the dove. Yeah, this is like all. Can we become greater than the destruction that we've created and allowed to go crazy here? What's the quality? Overcoming the waters of emotional nature. And again, that's the traits to develop for this ray, it said. So, are you divine? I am divine when I can overcome the waters of my emotional nature and to make decisions from a place of balance, of divinity, of recognizing what I desire, killing out what I don't desire, spurning that which I don't desire, being fearful, going the distance, sacrificing those small victories for the bigger picture, the goal, being detached and balanced. These are 6th ray qualities. If you feel like that it is resonating with you, you might be a strong 6th ray type. So continuing on with the last section of, the last part of the section. This outgoing ray of devotion to the ideal and the incoming ray of magical order or organization are largely responsible for the type of man's consciousness today. Man is essentially devoted to the point of fanaticism, to whatever may be the goal of his life's attention. This goal may be to achieve discipleship, or to raise a family, or to get money, or to achieve popularity, or any other objective to which he consecrates his time and energy. But whatever it may be, to it, he devotes all that he is or has. Man also is essentially and inherently a producer of law and order, though this quality is only just beginning to make its presence felt. This is because mankind is, at last, becoming mentally centered, balanced, activating our mental faculties, our higher mental faculties we talked about in the last section, the higher mind versus the lower mind, and blending them so that we can have an even more divine understanding of incorporating spiritual understanding and physical understanding, and then divine understanding by understanding that there's two, that Trinity activation. This is because mankind is at last becoming mentally centered, and hence we have in the world at this time the many and varied attempts to straighten out affairs along business, national, economic, social, and other lines, to produce some system and order, and to bring about the rearranging of all energies with the objective, unrealized consciously as yet, of inaugurating the new age. We are welcoming in the new age, not the new world order, but the new age. New thought, consciousness, the Aquarian age. Owing, however, to defective mental control and to an almost universal ignorance as to the laws of thought. So that's why we're talking about the laws. If people are ignorant of the laws, then they're not going to obey the laws. Just like we're talking about, man essentially wants to have law and order, because when structures are in chaos, we can see the decay. Like when our system, our body's in chaos, we don't thrive, we die. And a system that's in chaos, like on the earth, if it's chaos on the earth, then we're not thriving. Everybody's not surviving. It's like basic. This is like the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3. It's not complicated, but we act like it's subjective, and who can say what's really right, and what's the right way to live, and what's moral and why it's not that. It's not really up for debate when it's by law and truth. We see the reflection in our world around us. The world actively responds to certain things, and we respond to certain things, and it's reflected as above, as below. This is why this is the principles of the Hermetic teachings, Hermes Trismegistus. This is why it's been said, and this is ancient teachings. That's why we're studying it, because there's nothing new under the sun. Is why we're looking at this, because we're like, okay, there are rules to this place. All right, there's laws. Why don't we learn those laws? Why don't we live by those laws? Because we heard about them only through religion. So that's why this devotion ray was so huge, is because it was the first one that brought law and order and just systems of rules and beliefs and ways to live by, and something to attain or aspire to for the first time in human evolution. But now it's like people have questioned faith and religion for certain reasons. And so now we're slipping back into that loss of consciousness that created that hellishness, that created a desire to organize religion. This study is saying it's not time to do that. We just need to understand the laws, the reasons why we act the way we act. Again, we don't follow the 10 Commandments just so that we can get favor in an afterlife. I am acting and obeying the 10 Commandments in my life right now actively, not for a promise of some reward in the afterlife, but because I understand that this is a harmonious way to engage with life, that it will magnify and it be exponentially good to everyone around me, that it makes things better, and I'm good with that. I'm committed to divinity, and that's what I want to see in the world. So I'll do XYZ to work in harmony with the law. Other people make different commitments. They want to work in harmony with chaos, and they're creating destruction, and they like to see that chaos and that destruction of something beautiful, whatever. Fight Club, it's out there. It's just a choice. And so you just pick a side, right? And you don't work in ignorance. So this is saying ignorance. I don't remember where that was, but I guess it was talking about ignorance of this has allowed men to be corrupt and cruel to other men. So that's why, again, this is talking about like, hey, you guys get it yet? You know, no one's coming back to save you. You guys are the ones got to save yourselves. Like, this is your work. This is your evolution. So I think that's how to wrap that up. Back to where we were. Owing, however, to the defective mental control and to an almost universal ignorance as to the laws of thought, people are ignorant, or they were ignorant of the laws of thought. And in addition to a profound lack of knowledge as to man's own nature, man works blindly. So we had that excuse. If I don't know myself, how can I know how to be a good human? If I don't know about the laws of the universe, how can I, obey them? That's fair enough for then. But now we're moving into a new phase where it's not about I do this so that I can get the keys to heaven. I do this because I understand that we're destroying the world and we kind of want to save it. So what are we going to do? We're going to learn about humanity, like the true essence of humanity. We're going to learn about our birth charts. We're going to learn about who we are, why we're here, what we can do, what's our specific purpose. We're going to get in those seats. We're going to restructure our lives, and the new age and government is going to do what we want. Business is going to do what we want. This is how we're going to structure it. Who's going to lead? Okay, you. We're going to like move into that. That's all part of the new age of Aquarius. Is the ideal. So that's why this devotion is passing away, and we're going to move into ceremonial order and magic, 7th ray, plus the connection to the brave aspect that joins with that, because it's always multiple incarnation. But right now, 6th ray is passing out to usher in something new as we move into a new age, which goes on with the calendars and everything. It's all in alignment, so it kind of makes sense. If you want to study it and go deeper. Martin Kinney's work, again, was really good on that. So let's finish this up. But before, we were working blindly. That was our excuse. The ideals sensed are not correctly interpreted by the mind, nor applied in such a way that they are of general and appropriate application. Hence the confusion and the chaotic experimentation going on, and hence also the imposition of personal authority to enforce an individual's idea of the ideal. So it's not like, we're not talking about ideas of the ideal, we're talking about the ideal. So this is when we get like, it's not subjective, it's not like, oh, what's good for you and what's good for me, it's about like basic human principles, like what does it take to be a good human? Basic. Don't make it complicated, and then live by that. And the chaos is when people have gone in and tried to create glamours and be like, well, how can you really know what's really good for a person? And how do I know who I am? And maybe I'm not this, and maybe I want to be this, and all this. It's just more and more less concrete, on the ground, practical, right? And it's a glamour to make us be further and further from discovering our divinity, learning who we are. That gets deeper into trickster spirits and energies and all that stuff. But you can see it all around you with that temptation to destroy ourselves and our lives. Like, why would we want to do that? Nobody's going to want to do that. So that's why we need to kind of work against it, spurn that which we do not desire. Okay, so hence the confusion, the chaotic experimentation going on. And also hence the imposition of personal authority to enforce an individual's ideal of the ideal. We're not talking about someone's idea of the ideal. We're talking about simply the ideal. A is A. Objectivism, Ayn Rand. It's not up for debate. Okay, so we're almost done. You can see this last little section. The need today is for sound teaching as to the laws of thought and the rules which govern the building of those thought forms, which must embody the ideas sent forth from the universal divine mind. So again, this is what we need today. The need is for sound teaching as to the laws of thought. What is New Thought studying? We're having sound teachings on how to think. What are the laws of thinking? That's what we need today, and we're getting that. We need to also learn the rules which govern the building of those thought forms, which must embody the ideas sent forth from the universal divine mind. So Alice Bailey, in these teachings, we learn about thought forms. Annie Besant, I think there was a book called Thought Forms. And it talks about how, in the last video, I talked about egregors. When you create a thought or a word, you're manifesting. So thoughts are things, our words have weight, all these things we hear all the time. But now we're understanding that, and we're understanding that each thought we have creates a form, an invisible form on the astral plane that's either acted on or that guides me in my life, whether I know it or not, because we learned about in the last video about like Jung and the archetypes. I'm going to latch on by my words and my labels, what I call myself. I am a feminist, or I am a conservative male. I am a masculine. And I'm latching on to these words that have thought forms and energy that has energized and pumped those up for eons. And now when I call myself that label, I am taking on the power of those egregors, those thought forms, that energy. So what this is talking about, what we need right now is people who are conscious of the thought forms that they're spinning, people that learn how to think, they learn the laws of thought, and they think rightly, right? No, not quote unquote, really rightly. They think based on a divine ideal. They learn who they are, they learn their purpose, and they want to cause no harm to others, and they act on that, right? And through that, they're going to create new thought forms. And then people can attach themselves to these higher thoughts, these higher ideals, these higher concepts, this consciousness evolution. And then we will ride that wave into a more prosperous future, rather than people latching on to these negative thought forms and these things that have been built up and laced with tricks and traps that are actually causing more division, more separation, more anger, more angst, and more anxiety on the plane, more conflicts, more wars, all that stuff. So the need today is for sound teaching as to the laws of thought and the rules which govern the building of those thought forms, because it's a process. We have to build a thought form by having, I talked to you through that, I think, in the treatise on white magic by Alice Bailey, the process of building a thought form intentionally as a disciple. And that must embody the ideas sent forth from the universal divine mind, not what I think, feel, and believe. I'm not swept into impulses. I'm not going to use the power to manipulate or to be like, oh, I can swing this in my favor. What is the divine channeling of me? How am I supposed to move in the world? And I channel the divine, and I create a thought form based on those ideas and ideals, not my individual idea of the ideal. Men must begin on the subjective planes of life to work out the needed order. We're figuring out the new order, not the new world order, the new age, the order. Because that's the thing, that's the tricks and tracks. They knew what's going on, because there's people, like they said, Warren Buffett and all those people, they know about astrology, and they know about all this stuff. They're using it to invest, and they're using it to like thrive, and different technologies and advancing. Like people know this stuff, but they're just keeping quiet on it because they're like, hey, I'm going to manifest my idea of the ideal. And that's where I don't have to share, like they don't have to know. If they didn't do the work to learn about these things, I'm not going to tell them. They're kind of acting, playing God, right? And it sees as above, so below. They're playing God. Like, I can turn my back on them. If you guys aren't going to save yourself, you're not going to stop us. That's on you. So we're getting to the point where we're rising conscious. We're like, okay, like my government might not be doing the best thing for me. It might not be looking out for my best interest. Well, why don't I, or the police aren't protecting and serving? Well, why don't I rethink about how I want the police to interact with me, right? Or for the first time ever and ever, like people are talking about restructuring the police, or or things like that. Like we're reimagining, like, hey, this is here, these systems are here to serve us and make us better. When that starts to no longer be true, we have a right to reevaluate them and pull them back and cause them to act in harmony with our highest good, right? That's the idea. But so long as we are ignorant and not aware of our divinity, our power to do that, then it will not happen. So continuing on. Did I go too far? Yes, I did. Thank you for your patience with me. I better wrap this up. The need today, I'm going to read this from the beginning to the end. The need today is for sound teaching as to the laws of thought and the rules which govern the building of those thought forms, which must embody the ideas sent forth from the universal divine mind. Men must begin on the subjective planes of life to work out the needed order. When this is realized, we shall have every important group of men engaged in world affairs or in the work of government in all its branches, aided on the mental plane by trained thinkers, so that there may be right application and correct adjustment to the plan. The plan is to manifest heaven on earth here and now. This time, an evolution of consciousness, this time is as yet far away. It was at the writing of this book. We're getting closer and closer as we move further and further into the age of Aquarius, and hence the distortions and misrepresentations on earth of the plan as it exists in heaven, to use the Christian phraseology. It was the realization of the present world need for illumined thinkers and subjective workers which prompted those who guide so to direct the incoming spiritual energies that the formation of the esoteric groups everywhere came about. So it's like we're on our own here. There's other planets and planes in this idea where they're figuring it out. They're working out their karma. They're living through life cycles. Souls are incarnating. They're doing their thing on the world school, but it's like different worlds or different, planets or planes where they're doing this thing. And they're fine. They're getting it. There's the watchers, the planets that are up there shooting their energy down and testing people, Saturn energy, causing the Saturn return, holding back from people. Okay, Pluto coming around every few, then causing chaos and being like, oh, how did you guys move through that? All right, cool. So that's been going on, and it's going on in all these different places. While that's happening, no one's saying, oh my God, Earth is really suffering, because it's been hijacked by these people that aren't like teaching people that that's the point of life, is to have a soul's journey and to grow or whatever in consciousness. So that's been like hijacked. And these people are like suffering. There's souls that are trapped and they're like really suffering and they need our help. Oh shoot. So they direct their energy here. And now that realization that we needed illumined thinkers and subjective workers prompted those who guide to direct this incoming spiritual energies so that esoteric groups everywhere can be formed. And this is what this talks about, a group of world servers and all that stuff. And you just see different people doing good things in different pockets, in different places. And at the time, when the time is right, there will be a unifying of that energy, right, to move towards advancing the plan, which is, to break free, to unloose the chains and the grips on consciousness, to unloose the benefits of what it means to live and thrive and be free and all that good stuff, right? It wasn't known that we needed help, and we weren't calling out the flag because we've been like slowly drifting into and accepting chaos, over, clarity and purity or whatever. So, you don't ask for help, you're not going to get it. Now we're like, okay, we need help. So they're like, okay, we're going to incarnate people that are going to help you learn to think and teach you the laws of thought. Okay, that's happened. We've had tons of ancient teachings and the people, and they told us like, hey, that's what these teachings are. And we're reading them again so we don't reinvent the wheel. It's not like we're trying to figure this out right now. Syncretism, Theosophy, they're pulling together all the ancient teachings and they're saying, okay, this is what they figured out, right? So we're going to move from that much further ahead, because we're not just trying to piece it together now. We're acknowledging that all this information is there. And so that's how these esoteric groups have come about. And these people, disciples and all that stuff, that are learning this stuff and they're wanting to commit themselves to, in the pick a side, or committing themselves to the light and not the dark. And they're doing the work. And so it led also to the publication of the mass of mystical and oriental literature on meditation and allied topics, which has flooded the world today. So this is why we're getting this rise in consciousness, why we're seeing these sparks and all these groups and all this stuff that's happening. It's because the energy has been like, the time is right for it. We're also moving into the Aquarian age, so it's like right on time. It's not a coincidence that this is happening, which is where it gives hope, because it's like we're not kind of helpless here. This is all part of our evolution as long as we ride the wave. But there's still people that are kind of playing around like, oh, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I could still just be evil. Maybe it's good. Like, you got to turn your back on that, spurn that, and be like, no, we want to move towards evolution. We want to continue our growth. So that's where your decision, your individual decision, your choice as a soul incarnating into this experience becomes vital. Like, you have to choose. Every single one of us has to choose. And the people that choose, whatever they choose, that's fine, but they're going to still continue to experience cause and effect. Like, they're not immune to it, is what we're learning. So hence also the effort that I, a worker on the inner side of life, am making to teach the newer psychology in this treatise, and so show to man what is his equipment and how well suited he is to the work for which he has been created. I love that. We have the equipment. We are well suited to do the work for which we've been created. in which he has as yet failed to comprehend, but we're learning to comprehend that because we are learning. Those who came before us have taught us how to think in such a way that creates the thought forms that will attract the next steps and guide our steps. So now we're learning to comprehend. We're no longer ignorant of who we are. The force and the effect of the seventh ray influence will, however, reveal to him the magical work. And the next 2,500 years, so that's the 2,500-year cycle we're approaching for this age, will bring about so much change and make possible the working of so many so-called miracles that even the outer appearance of the world will be profoundly altered. The vegetation and the animal life will be modified and developed, and much that is latent in the forms of both kingdoms will be brought into expression through the freer flow and the more intelligent manipulation of the energies which create and constitute all forms. The world has been changed beyond belief during the past 500 years, and during the next 200 years, the changes will be still more rapid and deep-seated, for the growth of the intellectual powers of man is gathering momentum. A man, the creator, is coming into possession of his powers. If that's not just the most freaking amazing, empowering paragraph, I don't know what is. Take that in, let that sink in, read it again. I'm definitely going to revisit it. I'm going to end this here because I think it's gotten long and I need to go take care of some business. But I thank you so much for watching me and joining this video. And I hope that you receive something in that section that will help you as you continue on your journey. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.